I remember the exact moment the foundation of my life cracked. It was a Wednesday. The sky was the color of wet ash, and I was standing in the pickup line outside my son's school, holding a paper cup of lukewarm coffee, checking my phone for the 7th time in 5 minutes and no message. No missed call. Nothing from James. At first, I told myself he was just caught up at the office. Maybe a last-minute meeting. He was a marketing consultant, and long hours weren't unusual. But this time, the silence felt different. It felt deliberate. The bell rang and out came a stampede of children. I spotted Aiden's bright green backpack before I saw his face, and as he ran toward me, something like normalcy washed over me. Just for a second. Where's Dad? He asked, breathless. I forced a smile. He had a work emergency, baby. Just us today. But that lie, harmless as it seemed, marked the first drop in a storm that was already brewing. That night, James didn't come home. No texts. No calls. Not even a read receipt on the ones I sent. I called his office, a voicemail. His colleagues claimed he left early. I went to sleep with the blanket pulled up to my chin, pretending I wasn't shivering from something deeper than cold. 2 days passed. Then 4. On the 5th day, I received an email and not a call. Not a voice message. An email. Asterisk Claire, I need time. I've gone to Barcelona to clear my head. Don't try to find me. Tell Aiden I love him. I'll explain everything when I can. Asterisk, James. The words stung more than they shocked me. Because in my gut, I already knew something was off. He had taken his passport from the drawer last week. His favorite leather jacket was missing too. But Barcelona? Alone? No. Not alone. I spent the next 2 days in a fog. I went through the motions, made breakfast, packed lunch, smiled for Aiden. But inside, I was unraveling. Questions burned holes in my thoughts. Who was she? How long had this been going on? Was I really that blind? I finally broke down and called his sister, Naomi. She hesitated before answering, her voice unusually stiff. Claire. I didn't want to be the one to say this. My heart dropped. He's with someone, she continued. Her name's Bianca. He's been seeing her for months. She works for his firm, used to be his assistant. I couldn't breathe, Naomi continued, almost whispering. They left together. He told me he was done pretending. Said he needed a new life. Done pretending. A new life. What about our life? What about our son? I hung up the phone in silence. The walls of our house suddenly felt too clean, too curated. Every framed picture, every throw pillow, every memory I thought we built together now mocked me. I walked into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and opened his drawer. Empty. He hadn't just left. He had vanished. The following weeks blurred into a numb routine. I didn't tell Aiden the truth. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that his father flew across the world to play house with another woman? I told him Daddy had to work far away for a while. That he'd be back soon. It was a lie I hated myself for, but what choice did I have? I stopped eating full meals. Sleep came in broken patches. Friends offered sympathy, but even their kindness felt suffocating. Everyone had advice: lawyer up, take half, move on, as if I was ready to be that cold, that calculated. Then came the bank statements. I hadn't noticed right away, but my joint account was bleeding. Hotel charges from Barcelona. Expensive dinners. Jewelry. Flights. All under his name. All from our money. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not cracked. Snapped. James hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, he had stolen from me. From our son. From the life we built together. He had moved across the ocean and was using my loyalty as a shield while he played happy family with a woman who probably didn't even know the truth. That was when I stopped grieving and started planning. I contacted a lawyer. Not the one my friends recommended, but a specialist in international divorce and asset tracing. Her name was Julia Rao, sharp, cold-eyed, efficient. Exactly what I needed. We went through everything: accounts, shared properties, custody rights, he can't just disappear with your money, she said. Especially not without filing for divorce. It turned out he hadn't filed anything. He thought he could ghost me like a bad Tinder date. I gave Julia the green light. She sent notice to his firm, froze the accounts, and started the legal process. Meanwhile, I began documenting everything: emails, texts, bank statements. Every receipt was another nail in the coffin of his credibility. I also started following Bianca online. Her Instagram was set to private, but her Facebook wasn't. That was how I found them. A blurry photo in a corner of a rooftop bar in Barcelona, James's unmistakable silhouette next to a woman with long chestnut hair and 2 white teeth. She looked young. Too young. Early 30s, maybe. There was another picture from a week later, Bianca with a champagne glass, her caption read, "New beginnings. Endless love." Endless love, I wanted to scream. Instead, I saved the photo and emailed it to Julia. She's in his firm. I wrote, "Let's find out if this breaks any HR policies." Within days, Julia had enough ammunition to request a court order. If he didn't respond, we'd escalate. Freeze his assets, cut his access, drag him back through every legal corridor we could. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice and survival. Then, just as everything was falling into place, he came back. It was a Sunday evening, nearly 2 months since he vanished. Aiden and I had just returned from the grocery store. I was juggling bags in the driveway when I saw the unfamiliar rental car parked by the curb, and there he was, leaning against it. Wearing sunglasses like this was some kind of casual visit, like he wasn't the ghost who had upended our lives. "Claire," he said. I dropped the grocery bags. "What the hell are you doing here?" My voice shook. I wanted to talk. Face to face. "You mean after abandoning your son? After draining our account? After running off with your assistant like some pathetic midlife cliché?" He flinched. "Good, I know I messed up," he said, stepping forward. I stepped back. "Don't. Just don't." Aiden peeked through the front window, his face lighting up. "Daddy?" James smiled and waved. "Hey, bud." I turned to block Aiden's view and shouted through the door, "Stay inside." James looked stricken, and for a moment, I saw it, the regret. But it was too little, too late. "I didn't come to fight," he said. I ended things with Bianca." I laughed. A bitter, humorless laugh. "Did she dump you?" "No," he said quickly. It wasn't what I thought. I made a mistake. And now you think you can just walk back into our lives?" He looked down. "I miss my family." My hands were clenched at my sides. "You had a family. You left it." Silence hung heavy between us. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "I want to fix things. I want to come home." That's when I knew this wasn't about love or guilt. This was about consequences. Bianca had tossed him out. The courts were closing in. And now he wanted refuge, but he wasn't getting it, not from me, and definitely not from my son. That night, I couldn't sleep. James's words echoed in my head. His nerve. His audacity, but I didn't waver. The storm had passed. James didn't take the hint. Despite my refusal, despite the paperwork, despite the contempt in my eyes, he stayed in town. I would see his rental car cruising down our street every few days. Sometimes he'd park down the block and sit there. 4 hours. Watching. Waiting. Like a dog who'd lost its home and couldn't understand why no one was opening the door. I wasn't afraid of him. Not exactly. But I did start sleeping with a kitchen knife tucked beneath my pillow. For Aiden, I kept things neutral. I didn't poison his image of his father. He'd uncover the truth on his own, in time. But I no longer let James near him. Without supervision. Any visitation would go through the courts. Until then, my house, my rules. I had taken enough blows. I wasn't going to let the man who deserted us rewrite the ending, but the real revenge didn't come from coldness. It came from clarity. 3 weeks after his return, James showed up at the firm where Bianca worked. He had tried calling her, texting her, she blocked him on everything. Then, in a fit of desperation or stupidity, he showed up at her office. Begging to speak, the building had security. Bianca had already warned HR, they called the police. He was escorted off the premises like a disgraced intern. I found out 2 hours later. Julia forwarded me the police report. It's working, she said. He's unraveling. And she was right, his emails to me started sounding more like journal entries. Desperate, rambling, filled with self-pity. At first it was, I want to talk, please. Then, we were good once, remember? And eventually, you're turning Aiden against me. I still have rights. He was right about one thing, he did have rights. But so did I. And I was prepared to use every legal and moral weapon at my disposal to ensure my son never had to grow up thinking this behavior was normal, acceptable, forgivable. I wish I could say I felt powerful every step of the way, but there were nights I cried quietly in the shower, gripping the edge of the tiles, wondering how the man I once loved had become a ghost I now feared. There were days Aiden would ask if Daddy was ever coming home again, and I had to hold my breath before answering, just to keep from breaking down, but the pain became my fuel. Every sleepless night was a brick in the wall I was building between our old life and our new one. And then, the day of the preliminary court hearing arrived. James showed up in a wrinkled suit, visibly thinner than the last time I saw him. He looked like someone who hadn't been sleeping good. Let him taste the same insomnia he gifted me. I kept my composure. Julia did the talking. We presented the evidence, his abandonment, his reckless spending, the sudden relocation to another continent, the affair with a subordinate, the neglect of his parental responsibilities. His financial mismanagement alone nearly guaranteed me full custody. James tried to speak. He told the judge he had been emotionally confused, that he didn't intend to stay away that long. He blamed a mental health crisis, a midlife spiral, a mistake. But the judge wasn't there to coddle his conscience. He was there to enforce accountability, and accountability came swiftly. Temporary full custody was granted to me. James was permitted supervised visitation only, every other weekend, in a neutral facility. Our accounts were split. Property claims were frozen pending investigation. He had to return the car. He had to report his finances. He had to move out of the hotel he'd been staying in, too expensive now that his cards were frozen. He was unraveling, and I was rising, but revenge. True revenge isn't just about watching someone fall. It's about taking back what they tried to steal, and James tried to steal me, my dignity, my strength, my ability to love without fear. So I began rebuilding. I enrolled in evening classes, finance, and digital marketing. I'd spent years putting my own career on hold to support his dreams. That era was over. I started a side hustle, then turned it into a freelance gig, then a proper business. Julia referred me to clients. Naomi, bless her, even helped with childcare, and slowly, my confidence returned. I painted the hallway, rearranged the furniture, changed the locks. The old life, the one we had built together, was shedding like dead skin. I was still angry, but no longer powerless. One afternoon, about 5 months after his return, I received an email. Subject line, closure. It was from James. Claire, I know I don't deserve your time. But I want to say this, you were always better than me. I see it now. I thought I was chasing something brighter, freer. I ended up with nothing. You didn't deserve any of what I did. And Aiden, he's lucky to have you. I won't fight the court orders anymore. I'll sign whatever's needed. I don't know who I am without the life I threw away. I'm sorry. James. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I was moved, but because I finally saw the man for who he truly was: weak, self-absorbed, addicted to escape. He didn't love me. He loved the version of me that kept him safe, kept him centered, kept him clean. The moment life got too complex, he ran to a fantasy, to a younger woman, to Barcelona, and when that fantasy collapsed, he tried to crawl back into the wreckage he left behind, but I had already walked away from the fire. The divorce finalized 2 months later. Clean, sharp, merciless. I got the house, full custody, and control of the remaining assets. The judge saw through every one of his excuses. James moved to a smaller apartment across town. Bianca, from what I heard, had left the firm and moved back to her hometown. The last time I saw him, he was picking up Aiden for a scheduled